found because of love, and I'm glad you're here. So I can share with you the most amazing experience that the Lord has given me. And I hope that it encourages you. I hope that you know somebody that maybe needs to hear it. I'm not going to say it all at once because it is kind of long. So I'm going to be sharing parts of my journey. About 12 years ago, the Lord put in my heart the desire, out of the blue, literally. He put in my heart the desire to be a surrogate. At first, it seemed like a crazy idea. It seemed like, who does that? You know, you see it in movies and things usually go bad. So really, what in the world is this all about? I heard about it in an Oprah episode. I was watching it, and all of a sudden, I wasn't really watching because I had very small children at the time. So I was more listening. And all of a sudden, I heard this woman describe what it had been like to be a surrogate. And I was immediately like, this is something I can do. I had two small children at the time. I had a 4-year-old, and a 3-year-old, I guess, yes. So I had a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old. My pregnancies had been wonderful. We were not hoping to have any more children, so it just felt like the perfect time in my life where I was like, this is just something I can really do, and I really want to do it, and it sounds amazing. So let me look into it a little bit, because my frame of reference was baby mama. Not the best of references, but that's what came to mind when surrogacy was mentioned. So once I heard that woman's, I'm going to say testimony, she was just really telling her story about what an amazing experience it had been to be a surrogate. I really felt like it was something I needed to do. So before I even mentioned it, I wasn't brave enough to mention it to my husband right away. So I decided to do a little Google search and find out, what in the world does that look like? What does being a surrogate really mean? Outside of the Hollywood fiascos that we usually hear. I mean, there have been many successful, surrogacies in Hollywood. But at the time, it seemed to be mostly associated with not the best experiences. Lifetime movies sometimes are a little too dramatic. So I started to go on Google and find out a little bit more before I would even bring the subject to my husband. And I found out that there were actually agencies throughout the country that did that matched parents who were dealing with infertility for many different reasons with women who had it in their heart to be surrogates and who were willing to give that gift to a couple that desperately wanted a child. So I decided that I really think this is something I can do, something I want to do. I have to say, at the time, I was a Christian and I was praying about it, but I didn't really feel like it was necessarily as this amazing God experience. I just was praying, if it's something that I could do, let's see what happens. Looking back now, I do realize that God had been orchestrating the entire experience for as long as it lasted. But at the time, I was just, let's look into it. Let's maybe apply and pray about it and see what happens. And my journey began in 2010. I applied in 2009. My husband finally agreed and realized that it wasn't maybe completely crazy. And he agreed that I could apply. He agreed that I would send out the application and I wouldn't call. I wouldn't pursue it. I wasn't going to be bugging them and finding out anything. I was just going to fill out the application, send it in, and be done with it. That's what I did in about June or July of 2009. And I never heard anything. I never got a thank you for your application. We got your email, but we don't need you right now, or we'll call you. I didn't get anything. Zero. I have, through the miracle of technology from 12 years ago, I still have every single email that I sent and that I received to start my journey, and I never heard anything back. I sent it out in June or July, and I never heard anything. So we prayed about it, and we said, if it's not meant to happen, then we're just going to forget about it and move on with our lives, keep raising our children and our family, and that's it. So October came and I was still thinking, it could still happen. By December, I had said, okay, I'm glad I thought about it. I'm glad I was willing. I tried, and apparently that was the end of it. And then came January, and the email came, which was so bizarre. It was as if I had only just sent the email like the day before. Got an email and the ball started rolling. And God was gracious, and he showed up, and he orchestrated my whole life for the next 10 years in a way that I would never have thought possible. So my purpose for sharing my story, which I didn't really talk about too much while I was going through it. My purpose for sharing it now is for encouragement. Now I realize that God was in control of a situation that I often thought was a little weird. I've been involved with surrogacy for 12 years now, and I have met one other person. I've heard about two other people. I've only spoken with one of them who have actually been a surrogate. So even as I was going through it, I did feel as if I was a little strange, and people a lot of times would be like, "What? You're not keeping the baby?" But anyways, it was the most amazing experience. Besides having my own children, which started the whole ball rolling of me just loving motherhood. Being a surrogate was incredible. So I'm excited to share my story on this channel. I'm gonna share bits and pieces of it. Today I was just kind of sharing how I got started. Of course, there were many more details, because on top of me feeling the need to share my story, the Lord, for some reason, after I thought I was done and completely over my surrogacy years, He put it in my heart that I was to write a book. And I have just finished doing that. I am excited. I'm so excited to share with the world, because now I see that God had a plan and a purpose, and it was for my good and His glory. And He was in control, and apparently He had other plans. I thought that chapter of my life was done, and He made me write a book, put it all down, and share. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just trying to be obedient. I'm on my other channel called Stepping Out of the Boat, because I feel like God's calling me to do just that. He's calling me to get out of my safety zone and step into, see what He has in store for me. So I hope that you join me if you are dealing with infertility, or if you're a woman that thinks, that sounds amazing, I would like to do that. Or if you're somebody who is dealing with an unwanted pregnancy and you're considering, how could I ever give my child? Let me just tell you that there are many different ways a family is formed, and love is what bonds it all together. It's all because of love. So if you're parents that are dealing with infertility and the heartbreak that brings, my heart goes out to you, and I want to offer you hope. Maybe what you pictured will look a little different. Maybe the way your children will come into your family will be a little different than you had thought, but it will be just as amazing. It can be just as wonderful. If you're a woman that has that thought in your mind, maybe, I would love to be a surrogate, but that sounds crazy. How do I even tell my family? Let me just assure you that if you have that desire to share your body, to allow a baby to grow inside of you so you can hand it off to their parents and see that amazing moment of a couple becoming a family, trust that feeling is not in your heart for just any reason. It's not something that's for everybody, but if you feel like it could be for you, I want to encourage you that there is normal out there. There is plenty of opportunities, plenty of people looking for a surrogate. So I want to encourage you, if you feel that calling, and if you are in that place of where you do have a child that you're carrying and you're not sure and you're considering your options, let me just tell you that you can. I know that the world likes to tell us that we can't do it, that it's too hard to hand off your baby. I will say they were not my babies, but they did grow in my body. So there's some of that feeling. How do I hand off a child that grew inside my body? And let me just tell you, it's because of love. It's because you know that child will be loved, that these parents are waiting for them more than they're waiting for the next breath they take. So let me encourage you, if you're considering what your options are, adoption is a loving option, and it is one that you can do. Don't let the world tell you what you can't. You can do anything, and if you're a believer, if you believe that God is real, you can do all things through Christ. So just know that life is precious, that love is so, so strong, and it can help you to do things that you never thought you could. So this is just meant to be an encouraging channel of me sharing my story. I hope that you join me. I hope that you tell somebody that might need encouragement, that might be dealing with any of these situations, and that they'll join me on this journey. I am sure that if God has called me to it, it's for a reason. I've been resisting. I have been, Lord, it's over. It's been done now. I never really talked about it, and it has pursued my heart. So I know that He has a plan for it. I'm not quite sure what it is or how it will all unfold, but I know that He is pursuing me to share the story of just how amazing He was during my surrogacy experience. So join me again. I'm going to post a video every week, just sharing a little more every week. I'm hoping to have my book in a couple of weeks, which I'm so excited about. I can't even believe that God is just that amazing. You know, things that I thought were crazy. Who writes a book? Really, who writes a book? Famous people, you know, big people who have interesting stories. And he has just been reassuring me that he gave me this story for me to tell. So who am I to argue? I hope that you will enjoy just joining me, you know, kind of as we go through this journey of sharing and growing. If you have any comments, if you have any questions, I would love to encourage you through whatever journey you are going through. And here's the other thing about surrogacy. I know I mentioned the parents, the surrogate, and the, you know, woman who might be dealing with an unwanted pregnancy. But really my journey was about stepping into something that seemed crazy. Something that I thought, oh my goodness, my husband's going to think I'm completely insane when I bring up the thought of being a surrogate. So it's not just about surrogacy. It's about stepping into that place where you're feeling called to something that seems crazy. That you think, my life, it's just going to mess everything up, or how is that going to interfere with my plans? Just trust that if God is leading you to something that seems crazy, he will work it out in you. He will walk you through it. He will equip you. So it does not have to be surrogacy. It doesn't even have to be pregnancy related. But if you're dealing with anything that you're coming up against that seems crazy, but you feel God calling you to, you feel like it's a purpose, there's a purpose behind why that desire is in your heart, I pray that you will pursue it, that you will just be brave enough to step out and say, Lord, I don't understand it. Some of it seems crazy and scary and not really how I had envisioned my life going. But if you're calling me, I'm willing to, you know, allow you. You know, I am the vessel, you are the potter. Fill me and use me as you see fit. So I pray to encourage you. I pray to, you know, walk with you through whatever journey you're going through. And I pray that together we will see God's plan unfolding in a way that we can only not even begin to imagine at this point. So be blessed. Join me again. This is all new, this whole posting video, sharing my story. It is very much against my natural personality, but, you know, God calls us to step out of the boat and just to be brave and to trust that we can do all things through Christ. So join me again, be blessed, and just share, you know, the light that God has put in your heart. Trust that it's there for a reason and share with the world. I'll see you next time.